So the SEQUOIA trial was an important trial because it actually is what led to the FDA approval of zanubrutinib as a frontline covalent BTK inhibitor in CLL. And that happened because it was a randomized trial in the initial cohort of patients treated with bendamustine rituximab, the chemoimmunotherapy, or zanubrutinib, and zanubrutinib produced a much better PFS, and that led to the approval. But at the time, it was known that patients with p53 aberrations, meaning a 17p deletion or a p53 mutation, really should not be given chemotherapy because they have such inferior responses. It's not considered a standard of care. So they couldn't be randomized on the main cohort arm because the control arm was chemoimmunotherapy. So there was a subsequent cohort where those patients with a p53 aberration were treated with single-agent zanubrutinib. And then the final cohort was a group of patients with a p53 aberration treated with combination of zanubrutinib and venetoclax. The cohort also then expanded to contain some patients that did not have a p53 aberration. And that is the design of the study. Well, it's a very effective BTK inhibitor. It's a second-generation inhibitor, meaning it tends to have less cardiovascular side effects than ibrutinib, which was the prototype drug. So less atrial fibrillation, less hypertension, and it's used as a single agent. As I said, it's not actually approved in combination yet, but because of the data that we see in this poster, which I can talk about, it looks very encouraging. Well, the efficacy rate was very high, and the MRD undetectability rate was also quite high. And with the follow-up that they have, which is about 2 years, the progression-free survival is excellent. And remember, most of the patients were in a very high-risk group because by definition, they had p53 aberration. So the data looks very encouraging. And I do believe that as we move forward, the future of frontline therapy is clearly going, I think, to combination regimens. Generally 2 small molecules, but we also have an approved regimen, which is venetoclax and obinutuzumab. That's an antibody and a small molecule. The bottom line is these combinations produce very high rates of MRD undetectability, which then potentially allows for finite duration of therapy because you know if the patient is MRD undetectable that they're going to have a very long remission. I think one of the open questions on this future of moving forward in combinations is, are 2 drugs better than 3 drugs? And what I mean by that is if you combine, say, a BTK inhibitor and venetoclax, will antibody such as obinutuzumab add to that? Or are you going to have such good results as we saw with ibrutinib and venetoclax that the triplet may or may not be better? So I think that's a very open question in terms of the future of where these therapies are going. But there's no question in my mind that fixed duration combination therapy is the way the future is going to be.